What a way to win a game, particularly against the hated Boston Red Sox.
There's a lot to dive into about this game and many more things, Kevin. So let's get started right now.
You are Locked On Rays, your daily Tampa Bay Rays podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, my name is Kevin Weiss.
I'm Ulises Sambrano.
And we are the host of the Locked On Rays podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you for making us your very first listen every day. Be sure to check out and subscribe to the pod on our YouTube channel at Locked On Rays, as well as all the other podcasting platforms. We would very much appreciate a rating and review, 5 stars if you don't mind, plus a little nugget or two. You can also find us on the socials, Instagram and Twitter, formerly Twitter, now X and all that. And email us anytime, lockedonrays@gmail.com. Well, it wasn't necessarily the type of game that you'd want to draw up on paper to win, but that doesn't matter. It still counts as a W in the record, and Brandon Lowe gets a moment in the sun with the clutch walk-off homer off Kenley Jansen to win the game. And should I also note, yes, we have to give Brandon Lowe his kudos and his credit, but that does not happen. That win doesn't happen without Yandy Diaz doing Yandy Diaz things and working an incredible at-bat, which is par for the course for a guy that, man, I'd love to see him win a batting title and lead the league in on-base percentage, among other cases as well.
Yeah, it's okay. Let's just take that. You said so many things that I want to give you a thesis about, so I'll keep it short here. It's been a minute since we've had a together episode. So
yes, I hope you all enjoyed and kind of battled with us on Ulises' amazing trip to Japan and hurricane here in Florida and all that happened. So we tried to patch things together, worked in some interviews, worked in some appearances from professional baseball players. So at least for the time being, I think we'll be back in the saddle together and start reuniting Evan Klosky and all that. But anyway, I'll let you continue with your wonderful thesis here.
Let's see how wonderful it ends up being. No, but really, yeah, you're right. Thank you guys so much for supporting us and for giving us, your patience while we had these 2 weeks of unregularity, not posting. We were posting, but just of different types of content. Yandy Diaz, I want him to win the batting title. I am so upset that now Corey Seager has the actual plate appearances needed for him to be considered, qualified for the batting title. I'm really upset about that. I know that has nothing to do with the game, but as soon as you said that has been kind of on my mind. I hate that. I really wanted Yandy to get that in. So it's going to be way more difficult now with Corey Seager being a qualified hitter. Moving on to the other guy you mentioned, Brandon Lowe. Yes. Rough game with the glove. He had a nice effort there in the in extras to kind of not allow that run to score on Erasmo, but with playing the infield in, you really can only do so much. The earlier booted the ball, that was, he himself said that he was ticked off about that, and he did not say ticked off, by the way. He said something else, and you can understand that. But there was so much relief when he hit that bomb in him, in the players, in the coaches, and us as a fandom, because boy, that was just the sloppiest race baseball game that I've seen in a while. Like, that was very sloppy. And I put this tweet out. You can know that it was a really bad Rays game when Neil Solondz actually criticizes the team.
That never happens.
Exactly. Exactly. And I was listening on the radio, and he was, man, that was probably the edgiest I've ever heard Neil Solondz on the microphone. And Neil, I want more of that. I need more of that. The Rays fandom needs more of that because Neil Solondz knows ball. He knows ball. So we need him to just tap into that edginess that he showed during this broadcast, man. Like that was the best I've ever heard Neil on the microphone Tuesday evening.
Hey, we need more of that. And I think maybe he's finally starting to settle in, knowing that he's got some job stability, that nobody's going to take his spot, so he can really speak his true mind. And considering all the adversity and all the things that happened in this game alone, but over the course of this season, I could see where you want to unbutton yourself a little bit and let loose. There's certainly moments over the course of this 2023 Rays season and baseball season overall where that would want to happen for a guy as stoic and in mild manner as Neil Solondz is. We have more to discuss on this and more, but first, Ulises, we have to tell the audience about something extremely important.
Yes. Well, perhaps somebody that's listening or watching this on YouTube is struggling to close deals. Cold outreach is wasting time of both the buyer and the seller at every stage, especially when sellers are using shallow and outdated data. Your organization can overcome these challenges with technology that translates comprehensive, high-quality buyer data into real-time insights. These deeper insights empower sales reps and teams to adopt the habits of top performers, which leads to better outcomes like more pipeline, higher win rates, and larger deals. We call this deep sales, and we've built the first deep sales platform with the next generation of LinkedIn Sales Navigator. That's right. So right now you can try LinkedIn Sales Navigator and get a 60-day free trial at linkedin.com/locked on. That is linkedin.com/locked on for a 60-day free trial. You can let LinkedIn Sales Navigator help you sell like a superstar today. You just got to go to linkedin.com/locked on and get started today.
So this game, there was and there is a lot to unpack aside from what happened in extra innings and the Brandon Lowe walk-off home run. Besides 8 runs being scored, there was also another magic 8 different pitchers utilized by the Rays in this ball game. You also don't see this very often, where twice in one game you have RBIs, Brandon Lowe, thank you. Isaac Paredes, thank you. You have Jonathan Aranda getting a triple. I don't foresee many Jonathan Aranda triples in his what we hope is a long MLB career. We can thank the drop lights and dimensions and unfamiliar territory with that. We had some interesting, to put it nicely, defensive play. You mentioned Brandon Lowe, but Vidal Bruján and the experiment at shortstop.
Where should we start here with the Vidal Bruján experiment at shortstop? Because he did not have a good game. The ball that he kind of olayed, it reminded me of, remember Major League when they're in spring training and Dorn, he kind of like lets the ball go by and the manager goes like, "Hey, Dorn, quit with that Olay bull, you know what? Bull crap, don't do that."
Or Fernando
That
Tatis not being able to throw a ball to first.
Something like that. And so that's what happened. And then I think it must have been in back-to-back batters that happened, or maybe there was an out in between. I forget, people. I'm like in 3 different time zones right now. But then the next error, which I don't think was called an error on him, was a pop-up behind third base, left field. They all congregate. Isaac, Randy, and Vidal is just sprinting, like beelining, and you like that attitude. But then he got in the way of both Isaac and Randy and booted the ball. Yeah. And I know this, and I know that I'm not in his brain, but we all have been in a situation where we mess up, and the next thing that we try to do is make up for that mistake that we just did.
Yes.
And baseball players they all have a PhD on doing this. I made a mistake. I need to do something grandiose to make up for that mistake. That's exactly what happened there with Vidal. He didn't let that go, and he made it even worse by going after that ball so aggressively. And I don't know if he called it. Isak seemed like he was like, "Did you call that? I didn't hear you." It's
Yeah.
rough. It was rough.
Yeah, that's tough. I mean, I get if you're a utility player, it's hard to be, unless your name is Taylor Walls, to be exemplary at all these different positions that you're trying to play. And that kind of brings up the point. If Wander Franco was playing shortstop, does he make that play? If Taylor Walls was playing shortstop, does he make that play? If Basabe was playing shortstop, does he make that play? But plays like that, that's a tough ball to handle for sure. It's kind of in that no man's land territory. But when you're playing and you have shortstop etched next to your name, you got to have a little bit of leadership and voice quality of, either saying, hey, that's your ball, or no, that's my ball. You have to kind of take command of the field to some extent. And I kind of feel for Vidal Bruján, of course, because, he has not had he has not lit the world on fire in any of the action that we've seen from him in a big league uniform. And he's probably trying to impress and really showcase himself. And it just did not work, and it hasn't worked out.
No. And honestly, Kev, I think I'm ready to let go.
You're done with the Vidal Bruján experiment. You're ready for the Rays to ship him off to Boston or wherever, Pittsburgh, wherever it may be, this offseason. Too many other infielders. Assuming that, the Rays can keep a shortstop healthy, active, and on the field for one reason or another.
I feel, look, I want the best for Vidal Bruján because I've talked to him, and you know the story many times, but he's a nice young man. I want the best for him, and I hope that when he gets traded, that he gets traded to a team that is not a competitor, so that he can have the proper at-bats that he deserves to showcase all those tools that he showed throughout the minors. I need him to go to Colorado. I need him to go to
Los Angeles
Royals, to the Royals. Something.
Get the Jake Cronenworth experiment of go to a team that's going to play you virtually day in and day out. And is he now on his fifth trip up to the big leagues this year? The send down, call up, send down, call up. That's not easy for anybody. He's in that. I mean, kind of. He's in a tough spot, quite frankly, and I just don't. And I know it's not fair, but we have not seen enough from Vidal Bruján that says we have to keep this guy on the roster over other guys. Maybe with 28-man roster in September, you can stomach it, but when you're talking about, months 1 through 5 during the regular season, I find it hard to believe that he's going to be able to find regular playing time, especially guys like Junior Caminero and others knocking on the door.
I think he has an issue with being too much in his head. He knows the prospect, ranking that he had and how much was expected of him. I think, of course, that's going to affect somebody on the field. They're human beings. So that gets them, and they can try as much as they can to not let that noise in, but the noise is there, man. And I know that maybe he hasn't had enough at bats to say yes or no, but for me, I've seen enough. I've seen enough that I'm like, there is all of the tools that you want from him. We haven't really seen them be successful. The contact rate, not at the Major League Baseball level. The defensive prowess, because in many positions, We haven't seen that. He's so fast. He's going to steal 30 bags easy. Nope, he gets caught stealing quite a bit. I think he's 1 for 1 or something, like very close to being 1 for 1, which is unreal. I mean, a 50% stolen base rate, success rate. That's awful. That's awful. With a guy with his speed, like that should not be the case. So everything that he is supposed to, showcase as a very good skill, we haven't seen the positive of it. So I'm done. I would rather have Ulises Basabe be the shortstop, at least for this end of the season. He can hit. I know Taylor Walls is elite Gold Glove type defense, but I've always been, and I think you agree with me too, overall value is what ends up mattering.
Yes.
If you have Gold Glove defense, but you're giving me a 650 OPS, I would maybe take a little bit of a dent with the glove and put a guy that's giving me a 720 OPS. Like there has to be that give and take.
Yeah. And it's interesting because, I mean, Basabe, right from the get-go, he's made a strong impression, and it makes you say this guy can have some staying power. Is he Wander Franco? No, but there's certainly a role and a place and an impact for him where Vidal Bruján, he's had his shot and not much of a shot, but he hasn't taken advantage of it. And now you look at him and he's 25 going on 26 after this offseason. Ulises Basabe is 22. And your point about Vidal is really well made. He's like the antithesis of Freddie Freeman, where Freddie Freeman's slow, but he can steal a bag. Vidal Bruján is supposedly fast. He is fast. He is athletically gifted with the legs, and he can't steal a base. And all we're asking is, hey, draw that walk, get that slap hit single, and traverse your way to second or third somehow, some way, because we know you're not hitting it beyond 250 feet at the big league level, really.
Let's say, I mean, just I was going to, make a trivial situational question out of this, but I'm not going to. It happened today. I think it was in the 10th inning. You have men on first and third. No outs. Vidal Bruján at the plate. How does the bunt not get down? Yeah. How does a bunt not get down from his bat? Bro, that's... You want to make yourself useful. You want to use something of your speed, your ability to put down a bunt. This is it. First and third, no out. Walk it off through a bunt. You gotta do something. Nope. Yeah. Strikes out on 3 pitches. Bethancourt gets at the plate, fly out, double play. Josh Lowe gets caught by Wong, getting him on the back, and that was it. But Vidal could have had something there with a bunt. Make it interesting. Drag it. You have to do something. But he hasn't done it. All of the skills that he has not yet put a positive spin at it in the MLB level.
No, they have not translated in. It's definitely an indictment on him and a strong point to Yandy Diaz when Yandy's on-base percentage is basically equal to Vidal Bruján's OPS at the big league level. They both have 4s in front of them. They start out with 4s, if you will. So not a good sign there by any means. Yeah. We have more to discuss, but first, we need you to get ready for the NFL season with incredible offers from FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Plus, all customers who bet $5 will get $100 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Now is the best time to join FanDuel. The app is incredibly easy to use, and you can bet on everything from spreads to player props and more. So visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn, LOCKEDON, and kick off the NFL season with an offer you won't want to miss. FanDuel, an official partner of the NFL. So, Ulises, the Rays get the W to try and salvage what was a rough start to the month of September and a tough month in general, as they're in the midst of, I believe, 17 games and 17 consecutive days.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a battle and a grind, and you're going to need to find a way to come out healthy and energetic and ready to go for the playoffs. What we hope is going to be the playoffs and a deep playoff run. But I do know that you want to give a little love and appreciation to somebody named Robert, aka Bob Stevenson, because it's funny. I know it's been a couple weeks, or we haven't really joined together on podcasts since you've been away, but the narrative is shifting, or should be shifting, on this Rays bullpen.
Yeah, the narrative is changing towards this Rays bullpen, and in a good way, because it has been improving as the season has gone on. And honestly, if there are good names for, hey man, this guy's having a great season or whatever, right now, Bob Stevenson gets that from me. When you look at what he was doing with Pittsburgh and then what he's doing with Tampa Bay, it's ridiculous. I mean, K rate went from 28% to 43%. People, the walk rate basically slashed in half from 13% to 7%. Opponent's average 226 to 133. That's almost 100 points that he's decreased it. The whip, he literally did half that, from 143 to 0.72. The left on base rate again increased from 69% to 73%. Everything has been trending upwards. I looked at his pitch mix. The slider and the cutter have above average vertical drop, and they're about 4 miles of separation on average between the slider and the cutter. So that makes enough of a difference that people are whiffing on them. And when you look at his whiff rate, makes sense, because his whiff rate is in a 100th percentile, just like his chase rate. So I just wanted to give some appreciation to Bob Stevenson, because I feel like since he's joined, it has given some stability to the Rays pen, and maybe this is a hot take. He looks cold-blooded. And I mean that in more ways than one, Kevin.
I find it interesting because maybe it was just a case of, I mean, really all year, for the most part, we had been hammering, and there had been criticism of this Rays bullpen. It hadn't been the same strong suit of previous years. But now that you have a guy like Stevenson, he gets into the Rays program and organization, learns from Kyle Snyder and the coaches, and alters what he's throwing and how he's throwing, and voila, he becomes something special. Same thing with Jake Diekman, who has found new life in a Rays uniform. Sean Armstrong, coming back, this recent game aside, has done amazing things and pitching in multiple roles. And, Zach Littell coming out of nowhere and actually moving from the bullpen to the rotation. It might not have the name cachet of other bullpens and what the Rays have been used to, but they're finding a way to get it done. And I certainly hope that Jason Adam can come back healthy and make an impact down the stretch. And you combine that with Pete Fairbanks and maybe Andrew Kittredge, gets things going right. But I think that the bullpen is starting to come together, weapon styles, experience, all that at the perfect time, where you see maybe other teams in their bullpen maybe losing a little bit of steam. For example, the Orioles, and I know Evan Klosky was, not knocking on the table about this, as at some point the wheels are going to come off the Orioles bullpen. And we started to see a little taste of that with what happened, unfortunately, to Felix Bautista, where the Rays are kind of, in a way, coming out of nowhere since, June, July, post All-Star break. I mean, I remember a couple months ago, Fangraphs wrote a diatribe about, hey, this Rays bullpen is not a Rays bullpen. It's completely different. It's not good. And now we're starting to see the tide change on that, which is really remarkable considering, there's a lot more pressure on the bullpen now with Shane McClanahan out, and we know what happened with the injuries to the other starting pitchers as well. So I think we had to sort of exude patience and realize that, hey, the Rays will kind of figure out the special sauce and the combination and get guys. I'm all about going out and taking pitchers from Pittsburgh and fixing them and reworking them and making them special and exuding what they do well, or finding something in their repertoire that you can utilize to a strong effect. And Robert Stevenson is a huge, huge example of that. I really hope that the throwing motion, I mean, he is lethal, but the throwing motion scares me a little bit. I hope he can stay healthy long term, and if he can, maybe cut down a little bit on the long balls and the wild pitches, it'd be even an added bonus there. But they're slowly, methodically, quietly doing some special things as well. Like, and that's not even mentioning guys like Colin Poche and Kevin Kelly and all that.
Yeah, but we're not over the hump yet, though. I mean,
No.
It's September 5th or 6th when this comes out, and you have the last three starters not get through the 6th inning. So what does that mean? You have to put more innings on the bullpen. So I need the starters to do that, which is give us length, because you're gonna put a little bit more of a hardship on this bullpen that is performing rather well. And that he does Stevenson's knock would be his strike zone. His pitches do not he's below average on strike zone percentage to other pitchers. So yeah, but because of that, he actually has an above average target of hitting the edge of the zone more than other pitchers. So, there's always a pro and con, but I meant the cold-bloodedness because, now with Jason Adam, like you said, out, he's going to be the setup man. It looks that way, at least for Pete Fairbanks. But cold-blooded, I also mean it in another way, Kevin. It seems like Robert Stevenson could pitch in cold weather.
Oh, yeah. That's another thing we have to consider.
I mean, could we not see him take the ball?
Well, if Jason Adams hurt and Pete Fairbanks can't pitch in cold weather, that might be the guy you have to go with, quite frankly.
Who else?
I mean, whether you like it or not.
He's the guy. He's cold-blooded. So again, appreciation segment for Bob Stevenson, and also just to close it out, tremendous hair, kind of jealous. So I hope he gives out his routine so I can copy it.
Oh no, we know how you are about your hair care and beard care routine and all that for sure. And something that kind of glossed over a little bit, and I know that Mark Topkin and others have highlighted this to some extent, is when the Rays acquired Jake Diekman, basically on his last leg, nowhere else to go, and look at his ERA, he's done for, he's cooked. But turning things around and also providing that been there, done that leadership, rally and bring the bullpen together and be that guiding force like a David Robertson has been previously or could be. That the old guy in the clubhouse that's got a decade plus of relieving experience that provides a lot of that provides a lot of value. And if you've heard Jake Diekman in interviews, you know why like he's been a mainstay in the big leagues for so long, and why the Rays were willing to take a flyer on him to see what he could do. What's the worst that happens? You bring him in, he struggles a couple outings, you get rid of him, you find somebody else.
Yeah, exactly. And you've seen both of them hit the improvement button on not only on themselves individually, but on the bullpen on as a whole, with their performance. So it's been great to see these two guys succeed.
Certainly. All right. Well, we hope the Rays winning continues against the Red Sox and then the Mariners for the conclusion of the homestand. They got a lot of games in a row, so they got to be willing to stomach all that. In the meantime, hope you all enjoyed us back together. Hope you all have a wonderful day. Hope you all enjoy the win and many more wins to come. And we'll talk to you tomorrow.